Good evening. Blessed Advent. Hope you're having a rich season of reflection and in the midst of the busyness or all the things in culture that maybe you're finding a pause here or there to just look toward the coming of the Lord. Tonight I've picked, if you'll bear with me, I have 3 short poems by R.S. Thomas. This is from it's his collected poems. And he was a Welsh poet, but he wrote in English. He didn't learn Welsh till he was in his 30s, so he said he never was able to write in it. But passionate cleric, loved the Lord, but might have seemed hard because there was a deep longing within him for the Lord, and yet also the pain of the world he lived in, what he saw as the modern life, which, of course, he died far before the world we live in now, which would be even more chaotic to him. So I'm going to read 3 poems on waiting, and I may make a short comment or two. This first one is called In Church. So if you can imagine going into church in between services, in the middle of the day, just to sit and wait before the Lord. Often I try to analyze the quality of its silences. Is this where God hides from my searching? I have stopped to listen. After the few people have gone, to the air recomposing itself for vigil. It has waited like this since the stones grouped themselves about it. These are the hard ribs of a body that our prayers have failed to animate. Shadows advance from their corners to take possession of places the light held for an hour. The bats resume their business. The uneasiness of the pews ceases. There is no other sound in the darkness but the sound of a man breathing, testing his faith on emptiness, nailing his questions one by one to an untenanted cross. It may sound a little sad or dark. He's waiting, and all he hears is breathing, and it feels as kind of overwhelming. And yet, what R.S. Thomas is sharing there is actually the story of many of the great mystics in the church. When we use the word mystic, people usually think of people with angelic experiences and divine visions, but actually what we often find is people talking about darkness, longing, waiting, and the essential form of prayer, breathing. Because as we breathe, every breath, slowly, in acknowledgement that we are absolutely dependent on the one who sustains us. So even in the long, questioning nights of unanswered questions, the simple act of breath is a reminder of the faithfulness of God. And now, after the long waiting, here are 2 poems of appearing. So during Advent, we are waiting for the appearing of the Lord. The first one is Suddenly. Suddenly, after long silence, he has become voluble. He addresses me from a myriad directions with the fluency of water, the articulateness of green leaves, and in the genes too, the components of my existence. The rock, so long speechless, is the library of his poetry. He sings to me in the chainsaw, writes with the surgeon's hand on the skin's parchment messages of healing. The weather is his mind's turban, driving the earth bulk round and around its remedial journey. I have no need to despair, as at some second Pentecost of a Gentile. I listen to the things around me, weeds, stones, instruments, the machine itself, all speaking to me in the vernacular of the purposes of the one who is. And finally, a poem, Arrival. Not conscious that you have been seeking, suddenly you come upon it. The village in the Welsh hills, dust free, with no road out but the one you came in by. A bird chimes from a green tree, the hour that is no hour you know. The river dawdles to hold a mirror for you, where you may see yourself as you are, a traveler with the moon's halo above him, who has arrived after journeying where he began, catching this one truth by surprise, that there is everything to look forward to. Beautiful poem of, he's come back home. And it's night, so it's a long journey. And suddenly, the surprise of the world he knows, the world he's so familiar with, and the realization that God is present in the midst. I pray that for each of you, that during this season of long waiting, that suddenly you might arrive home and realize God is present in the midst. Blessings.